A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Brothers and sisters, I welcome you all to the Islamic Center of Moment live broadcast. We are doing Ayam Aza of Muharram Majlis. We are blessed to have two guests today, and our resident alim will be start the Majlis. First of all, I apologize for the delay because of some technical issues. Without wasting any time, I'm waiting for the brother Mehdi Kazmi to join so he can start the recitation of Holy Quran. Alhamdulillah, brother Mehdi Kazmi is with us, and I'd like to invite him for recitation of Holy Quran. He's our younger brother with the loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
I'm going to be reading Surah Kawthar in the translation.
Good.
Bismillah, brother Mehdi.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر وصلي لربك وانهر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. O Prophet, we have surely bestowed upon you good in abundance. So offer prayer and sacrifice to your Lord alone. Verily, your enemy alone has been cut off from the roots. Allahumma salli
ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Jazakallah, brother Mehdi Kazmi. May Allah protect you. Thank you so much for coming on. Now, without wasting any time, we are blessed to have brother Sayyid Zishan Taqvi from Houston, Texas, attending the program at Islamic Center Moment. We thank you, brother Zishan Taqvi, to accepting our invitation and coming on. Brother Zishan will be presented with the Salam and Marsiya. Bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
Brother, can you quickly tell me how much time I have, like just to recite something, like, because I know it's close to Maghrib.
Yeah, Aga, we are running behind, so 10 minutes, inshallah.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Thank you, Zishan bhai. Thank you, Jazakallah.
So I'm just going to recite one salam and one marsiya within 10 minutes. Salawat.
Thank you, Aga.
محمد وآل
اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد وجل فرجہم.
خواہر شاہ کربلا زینب، خواہر شاہ کربلا زینب، تو نے باد حسین کوفے میں، تو نے باد حسین کوفے میں سر کیا یہ مقابلہ زینب، خواہر شاہ کربلا زینب، بھائی نے کربلا کو فتح کیا، بھائی نے کربلا کو فتح کیا، ارے تو نے کوفہ الٹ دیا،
سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ ذیشان بھائی.
خواہر شاہ کربلا زینب، اور تو جو رہتی نہ شہ کے دوش بدوش، تو جو رہتی نہ شہ کے دوش بدوش، ارے فتح ہوتی نہ کربلا زینب،
بے شک.
شاہ کربلا زینب، اور چھپ سکے گا کہاں یہ قتل حسین، چھپ سکے گا کہاں یہ قتل حسین، ارے تو نے پردہ الٹ دیا
سبحان
زینب،
اللہ سبحان اللہ.
خواہر شاہ کربلا زینب، اور غازی عباس ابتدائے وفا، غازی عباس ابتدائے وفا، اور تو وفا ہو کی انتہا زینب،
کیا کہنے ہیں کیا کہنے ہیں ذیشان بھائی.
خواہر
ماشاء اللہ.
شاہ کربلا زینب، ارے بندھے ہاتھوں سے تو نے لاکھوں میں، بندھے ہاتھوں سے تو نے لاکھوں میں، ارے قصر شاہی الٹ دیا زینب، خواہر شاہ کربلا زینب، اور شین سر دے کہ تو نے دے کے رضا، شین سر دے کہ تو نے دے کے رضا، فتح کی جنگ کربلا زینب، خواہر شاہ کربلا زینب، صلی اللہ محمد وآل محمد.
اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجہم.
مرسی کے 2 بند میرے خیال میں ہو سکتے ہیں. ایک فاتحہ پڑھنی، مرسی کے 2 بند پڑھوں گا انشاءاللہ.
بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم الحمدللہ رب العالمین مالک یوم الدین.
اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد. اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد. جب لٹ کے کربلا سے اسیر ستم چلے، اور سجاد سر برہنا بادرد و علم چلے. ارے روتے سروں کو پیٹتے پابند غم چلے. ارے زینب نے لاش شہ سے کہا بھائی ہم چلے. ارے مرنے سے آپ کے میں یہ ایزا اٹھاتی ہوں. ارے دربار میں یزید کے سر ننگے جاتی ہوں. ارے دربار میں یزید کے سر ننگے جاتی ہوں. ارے ہے میرے مسافر کرب و بلا حسین. ارے ہے میرے غریب میرے مہلکا حسین. ارے ہے تجھے نہ پانی کا قطرہ ملا حسین. ارے ہے تمام تن تیرا ٹکڑے ہوا حسین. ہے تمام تن تیرا ٹکڑے ہوا حسین. ارے پیاسے گلے پہ خنجر بیداد چل گیا. ارے ہے تڑپ تڑپ کے تیرا دم نکل گیا. ہے تڑپ تڑپ کے تیرا دم نکل گیا. ارے لینے نوا علی کی بضاعت تجھے ملی. ارے کربلا خدا کی امانت تجھے ملی. ارے خاک میری ماں کی ریاضت تجھے ملی. ارے لے اے زمین شمع امامت تجھے ملی. ارے دامن تیرا بھرا میرا کھیتی اجڑ گئی. ارے سرحد میں تیری بھائی سے زینب بچھڑ گئی. سرحد میں تیری بھائی سے زینب بچھڑ گئی. یہ کہہ کے سر کو پیٹ کے روئی وہ دل جلی. ارے آ کر نجف سے حال میرا دیکھو یا علی. ارے گردن رسان میں آپ کی بیٹی کے ہے بندھی. ارے گردن رسان میں آپ کی بیٹی کے ہے بندھی. अरे कहते कहते ये मारिया से वो बाचश्मे तर चली अरे हाय हाय मैं करबलाए मोहल्ला में लौट गई परदेश में मैं आके बरादर से छुट गई परदेश में मैं आके बरादर से छोड़ गई जब लुट के करबला से असीरे से तम चले
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajal farajahum. ये थे जनाब सैयद ज़ीशान तकवी साहब ह्यूस्टन टेक्सास से. ज़ीशान भाई, you owe us one program inshallah. I apologize for the delay.
No problem.
Please forgive us, and inshallah we're going to see you pretty soon.
Anytime, inshallah. Can I left from here because I have to go for the prayer for Maghrib prayer.
Sure, please. Sure, please. Thank you.
Inshallah.
Now, without wasting the time, first of all, I apologize to Sheikh for the delayed program because of the technical difficulties. Please forgive us. Inshallah, now I'm going to invite Sheikh Amin Rastani to address the Mumineen. Bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
اللهم صل على
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Yes, so tonight's lecture was going to be longer than what I will be doing. Just in the interest of time, I will take one part of the lecture that we were going to have tonight, and hopefully I can finish that part. It's not very long, and so that we can end in time for namaz. And also on behalf of Moment, I also apologize if there were technical difficulties, brothers and sisters. When we look at the movement of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and we look at, even after that till today, even what's been going on, you can tell that this movement or this incident was one that was to make a lot of noise. This was not going to be something that was going to be hidden. This was not going to be something that history was not going to record the details of. And so we see how the Imams, they developed a culture for us and established a culture for the Shia that has to do with keeping this memory of Imam Hussein alive through the azadari that we do and the azat that we do, which is of the utmost importance and is something that has to be kept alive, inshallah. If this is what the Imams wanted after, to keep it alive through the tears, to keep it alive through the azat, through the azadari and all of that, then what's for sure is that Imam Hussein alayhi salam, when he was alive, he was making sure to really put this out there and not to let it be hidden. It's very interesting how when you read history and the different versions of history, different narratives regarding different occasions and incidents in Islamic history, you find that there are very different narratives when it comes to different points on the timeline of Islamic history. And so lots of times things will be vague, things will be unclear. But Imam Hussein didn't allow that to happen. He made sure to do things in a way that they will remain forever, in the sense that no one's going to ever question that Imam Hussein got killed in Karbala out of dhulm. There's no one who will doubt anything like that. You will have cases with other Imams. They are not from the mainstream Shia perspective, but in other schools of thought, they will question the fact that those Imams were poisoned and that they were actually assassinated, but rather they'll say it was a natural death. Imam Hussein didn't allow for any of that with his movement. The movement of Imam Hussein alayhi salam was one to survive the centuries that come afterwards and to stay in the minds of the people as something that has actually happened. And so you see today, no one ever doubts the actual incident and lots of the main details of that incident. And so this is all from because of the strategic planning and execution of plans of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So one thing I want to share with all of you tonight, very shortly, is how the Imam, from almost, you can say, day one, was making sure that it is what he's doing is made public. When this letter comes from Yazid to Walid bin Utbah, the one who was ruling or governing Medina, asking for and commanding, of course, ordering for the bay'ah of Imam Hussein, in that letter, two other names were also mentioned. The names of Abdullah bin Umar and Abdullah bin Zubayr. These two have also been summoned by Yazid through the governor of Medina to give their bay'ah. Now, Abdullah bin Umar wasn't in town anyway when this letter comes, they say. He was already in Mecca and he was performing Umrah there. But Abdullah bin Zubayr and Imam Hussein, they were in Medina when this letter came. As a matter of fact, some reports say that Imam Hussein was sitting with Abdullah bin Zubayr when they were summoned to the palace of the governor of Medina for this bay'ah. It wasn't them, Imam Hussein apparently was. Now what happens is that Abdullah, son of Zubayr, which of course the Shia school has major reservations in regards to him, he actually knows that this is going to be a problem, and so he flees Medina and takes a route that people usually don't take. It might be more dangerous, it's more discreet. At night he leaves Medina and he moves towards Mecca. But Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he doesn't do anything like that. He goes to the palace of the governor, and we've all heard the story of how the governor demands the bay'ah, in which Imam Hussein denies and doesn't give bay'ah. Now here, the Imam, in the next few days, he knows that he has to leave Medina. His life is in danger. It's either bay'ah or death. So it's time to leave Medina. And when he wants to leave, this is where we see that from the beginning, the Imam, his plan is to make things as noisy as possible, to make the public aware as much as possible. So it says that on that night, or excuse me, in the days that came, it says Imam Hussein, he leaves Medina 2 days before the end of the month of Rajab. Okay? And so while he's leaving the city, he recites the verse 21 of Surah Qasas. And later he's going to read and recite verse 22 as well. But here, as he's leaving, he recites verse 21 of Surah Qasas, which has to do with Prophet Musa alayhi salam, when he was leaving his city of Egypt. And so that verse is فَخَرَجَ مِنْهَا خَائِفًا يَتَرَقَّبُ قَالَ رَبِّ نَجِّنِي مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. As you all know, Prophet Musa, he was in trouble because someone had died at his hands, of course accidentally, but he was in trouble. And so he left. He left because he feared for his life, which is interesting here, that the Imam also recites this verse because in this verse you have kha'ifan. Kha'ifan comes from khawf. And if it's khawf means fear. So the Imam is kind of saying that, yeah, I'm leaving because I fear for my life. And this is something that we have to understand. Just because it's the word fear is being used by the Imam here, it's not something bad necessarily. I have to make this clear. There are two types of fear. Some fears are good, some fears are praiseworthy, and some are not, that are kind of frowned upon. If Imam Hussein on Ashura has no fear at all, yes, because that's the place for no fear. If here leaving Medina he fears for his life, this is a good fear. He has to protect his life. Karbala is one story, Medina is another story. The circumstances are different. He has to go and go and go until there's no choice except to fight, and then when there's no choice to fight, then he puts his life on the line. This is something to keep in mind, because some people think that no fear is always the way to go, or only fear is the only way to go. No. It depends on the circumstances. And usually the ones who are a little ignorant about this principle of Islam, they will have this idea of it's either or. No, it can be both. Sometimes this, sometimes that. It really depends. The same Imam, when he's living here, he says, فَخَرَجَ مِنْهَا خَائِفًا. But on Ashura, what does he do? He says, this is what it's all about. And he draws his sword and he faces the arrows and the spears with no fear at all. Okay, so it says here, this verse, what it's saying is that, so he left the city, talking about Prophet Musa, of course, Surah Qasas, verse 21. He left the city while he was in fear and expecting something bad to happen. خَائِفًا يَتَرَقَّبْ قَالَ رَبِّ نَجِّنِي مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. And as he left, he said, "Oh Allah, save me from the qawm, the oppressive, transgressing qawm and people." So he goes. Now on his way out, one of his companions, and this is the part of the lecture that we need, that I'm talking, that is the focal point of the talk, is that someone tells him, one of his companions tells him, let's take the route, let's take the side road. Let's not take the main route, which it makes us vulnerable. The Imam here, he says something which shows that he has a plan, a strategy. He says, "La wallah, la ufariquhu hatta yaqdi Allahu ma huwa qadin." That no. I am not going to leave this route until Allah carries out what He has willed for us. It seems that the Imam knows, of course, that what this whole journey is going to end up like. He knows the fate of this caravan. But at the same time, he knows that this has to be publicized. And so he says, look, I'm going to do what I need to do, which is to make it as public as possible. If our lives are in danger in Medina, we'll leave. Outside of Medina, though, when I'm on my way to Mecca, I'm going to make sure that everyone knows where I am, what I'm up to. Everyone knows that he left Medina out of fear for his life. People on the way will ask me questions and so on. So he's making it clear that this is going to be something that has to make some noise. Not like Abdullah bin Zubayr, who at nighttime, fled very discreetly. No one found out, and they weren't able to summon him eventually, get their hands on him. He went to Mecca, he didn't give bay'ah there, and eventually history tells us what happened afterwards, of how he, after Imam Hussein was killed, he started getting bay'ah for himself, Abdullah bin Zubayr, against Yazid. And all the history that comes after and the stories that come after. But that's not the point right now. Anyway, the Imam makes it clear. He says, no, by Allah, I'm not going to change my route, because the whole point of this is to make the most noise that we can. This is going to be a chapter in history that's going to change it forever. And so as he goes and takes this main route, and he arrives in Mecca, okay? Then it says that, he arrived 5 days after they arrived at Mecca, And now some of the reports say that they entered on the night of Imam Hussein's birthday. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So he left 2 days before the end of the month of Rajab, and he arrives on the night of his birthday, which we all know Imam Hussein's birthday is in the beginning of Sha'ban, and the 3rd of Sha'ban. Okay. So that is about 4 or 5 days. So when they enter Mecca now, he says, he recites the next verse in Surah Qasas. The report says that he recited, وَلَمَّا تَوَجَّهَ تِلْقَاءَ مَدْيَنَ قَالَ عَسَى رَبِّي أَن يَهْدِيَنِي سَوَاءَ السَّبِيلِ. That once he entered Mecca, he recited the verse that said that when Prophet Musa arrived in Madian, okay, so Prophet Musa left Misr. He said, "Oh Allah, save me from the Zalimeen." Then when he arrived at that city or town of Madian, well, we'll say city, it's better. Prophet Musa says something. Imam Hussein quotes the same thing. In other words, this is how I feel right now. Yeah? What did he recite? لما توجه تلقاء مدين قال عسى ربي أن يهديني سواء السبيل. I have hope that my creator and nurturer will guide me to the right path. Yes. In other words, I made the decision to leave Medina, and made the decision to take the route that is going to put me out there and make noise the most. Every step of the way, Imam Hussein a.s. is trying his best to figure out what he needs to do. And then in the end, he has this dua that I hope that my master, my nurturer, my creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will guide me to the straight path. And that teaches us that we need to try our best to figure things out, and then we put our trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as things unfold, and then we'll see that, okay, it's going to be all right, inshallah. But this true path and right path that He's saying, oh Allah, I want you to show me, we all know what it ended with. It ended with the Shahada of Imam Hussein, which had to happen on the 10th of Muharram. And as the sun sets on the day of Ashura, as the eve of the 11th arrives, that afternoon after Imam Hussein had been slaughtered, it says that Umar ibn Sa'ad dispatched the head of Imam Hussein alayhi salam with Khawli bin Yazid and Hamid bin Muslim to Ubaidullah bin Ziyad. And then he gathered the heads of the Imam's companions and relatives. Brothers and sisters, I want you to imagine this now. The Imam, whenever the Shuhada would go and they would get killed, he would bring them back to a tent that they call Darul Harb, they say. And he would place them there so that the enemy couldn't touch those bodies and mutilate the bodies and behead the bodies. But once Imam Hussein becomes Shaheed, these bodies are in that tent and they are left for these people to come and do whatever they want. And so, brothers and sisters, these bodies were mutilated. And so think about it. This Umar ibn Sa'ad wants to send the heads. Those heads were not already taken from the bodies when those bodies fell and became Shaheed. These monsters actually made their way to those tents and to the Dar al-Harb. And they took these bodies. I want you to imagine Ali al-Akbar, Abbas alayhi salam's body was on the ground. Qasim, the children of Bibi Zainab, one after another, they might be dragging these bodies out of that tent and then beheading them there and detaching the bodies from the heads so that they can send these heads by the command of Umar ibn Sa'ad. They can send them to Ubaidullah bin Ziyad la'natullahi alayh. He then dispatched them along with Shimr bin Dil Jawshan, Qais bin Ash'ath, Amr bin Hajjaj, and others maybe who reached it and took it to Ubaidullah bin Ziyad. Tabari says that Khawli brought the head of Imam Hussein. So some of the heads went with others, but one precious head, the head of Aba Abdullah, it goes with Khawli. He takes it to the royal palace in Kufa and sees that the gates are closed, so he takes the head to his own house and keeps it under the drum of the laundry. I'm reading from Nafasul Mahmum. His wife says, he then entered the room and relaxed upon the bed. I asked him, what news have you brought? He replied, I have brought abundant wealth for you. This is the head of Hussein which lies in the courtyard of your house. I said, woe be to you. People bring gold and silver while you've brought the head of the grandson of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. By Allah, I shall never ever lay my head beside you. Then I left the room and came into the courtyard of the house while he called for his other wife, Khawli. These mal'ooneen, for them it was just another day to kill the grandson of the Holy Prophet, then go home and relax, brothers and sisters. It says that she says, I sat there now. Now this woman, she's heartbroken. How could you bring the head of the grandson of the Prophet into my home? And so she says, I sat there looking at the blessed head. I was angry. I had left. By Allah, I saw a pillar of light extending like a sheet from the courtyard to the heavens, while white birds were circulating around it. When dawn arrived, he took the head to Ubaidullah. It is said that Bashir bin Malik was the one who brought the head in front of Ubaidullah and placing it before him said, fill my stirrup with gold and silver, for I have killed the king whose door was guarded and the one who recited the prayers facing the two qiblas in his childhood, meaning Imam Hussein. And whenever ancestry is discussed, he possesses the best ancestry. I have killed the one who was the best with regard to father and mother. They knew who they had killed, but to add insult to injury, brothers and sisters, and I will end, this head that would recite Quran, this head that the Prophet would take into his arms, this face and mouth the Prophet would kiss, this face full of nur, when the Ahlul Bayt arrived in Kufa in front of Ubaidullah bin Ziyad, he began to poke this same face and lips of the flower of Rasulullah. Ala la'natullahi ala al-zalimeen wa saya'lamu alladhina zalamu ayya munqalabin yanqalibun wal aqibatu lil muttaqin. ماتم الحسین.
یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین. یاسر بھائی نغمہ پیش کریں.
یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. پابند نہ ہو آہیں ہائے پابند نہ ہو آہیں رونے پہ نہ پہرا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. تھی جس کو نیند آتی شبیر کے سینے پر. تھی جس کو نیند آتی شبیر کے سینے پر. زندہ در زندہ ہائے زندہ در زندہ اس کے لیے قضا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. زندانوں سے آتی تھی آواز سسکنے کی. زندانوں سے آتی تھی آواز سسکنے کی. جیسے کہ سکینہ کو ہائے جیسے کہ سکینہ کو ہر زندان رو رہا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. ٹکرائے نہ وہ کیوں سر زندہ کی دیواروں سے. ٹکرائے نہ وہ کیوں سر زندہ کی دیواروں سے. بھائی سے اور پھوپھی سے ہائے بھائی سے اور پھوپھی سے جس کو جدا کیا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. تھی جس کو نیند آتی شبیر کے سینے پر. تھی جس کو نیند آتی شبیر کے سینے پر. زندہ در زندہ ہائے زندہ در زندہ اس کے لیے قضا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زندہ میں نہ تنہا ہو. یا رب کوئی معصومہ زنداں میں نہ تنہا ہو بند نہ ہو آہیں ہائے پابند نہ ہو آہیں رونے پہ نہ پہرا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ زنداں میں نہ تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ زنداں میں نہ تنہا ہو یا رب کوئی معصومہ زنداں میں نہ تنہا ہو بر محمد والے محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجهم. We are going to proceed for the ziyarat. If Brother Bakr is available, can you recite the ziyarat? Let me recite the ziyarat. Assalamu alayka ya Nabi Allah. Assalamu alayka ya rahmatul lil alamin. Assalamu alayka Ali al-Murtaza ya wasi Rasulullah Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alayka ya Fatimah al-Zahra Sayyidat an-Nisa al-Alameen. Assalamu alayka Hasan wal Hussein Sayyiday Shabab al-Jannah. Assalamu alayka Ali ibn al-Hussein wa Muhammad ibn Ali wa Ja'far ibn Muhammad wa Musa ibn Ja'far wa Ali ibn Musa wa Muhammad ibn Ali wa Ali ibn Muhammad wa Hasan ibn Ali. Assalamu alayka ya Sahib al-Zaman. Assalamu alayka ya Sharik al-Quran. Assalamu alayka Imam Sibajjan Sayyidi ya Mawlai Ajallahu ta'ala farajak wa sallallahu ta'ala makhrajak wa zahurak wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. موزد سامعین اکرام، ایک دفعہ پھر اسلامک سینٹر مومن کی جانب سے ہم معذرت خواہ ہیں پروگرام کو تاخیر سے شروع کرنے پہ کچھ فنی خرابی کی وجہ سے، اور اس کے ساتھ ساتھ ہم اپنے تمام پڑھنے والوں کی خدمت میں شکریہ ادا کرتے ہیں، خصوصاً مہدی کاظمی، ذیشان تقوی اور یاسر مناف بھائی، اور انکلوڈنگ شیخ امین رستانی کے کہ وہ تشریف لائے اور انہوں نے مجلس اعزاز سے خطاب فرمایا. انشاءاللہ آئندہ آنے والے پروگراموں کے لیے پلیز ہماری ویب سائٹ اور میسیجنگ کو فالو کیجیے گا. تب تک کے لیے اجازت چاہتے ہیں. ایک دفعہ پھر آپ تمام سامعین کا شکر گزار ہیں اسلامک سینٹر مومن کی جانب سے. السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ.